Welcome to the Wellness for Women show, where we talk about life, weight loss and everything in between. I'm Faye Caseman, founder of the AAA Way Life and Weight Loss Programme, and I'm here to help you put together the pieces of life and weight loss for one last time. This is an episode of the Wellness for Women show, filmed live in the free Facebook group. So tell me, are you trying to form new healthy habits? And if so, what are they? What are you working on now in life and weight loss? And are you struggling to get some traction? If so, you're definitely not alone. And it can feel tough, right, to make lasting changes, but it doesn't mean to say that it's not worth the effort. Forming healthy habits can have a huge positive impact on mood, energy levels, overall health and life in general. And if you are looking for some tips on how to make forming those healthy habits a little bit easier and how you can keep hold of them, then you have come to the right place. So what have we got coming up today? I'm going to be sharing some tips. So whether you're just starting out or you've been struggling to stick to your new routines for a while, these tips will help you to gather momentum. So if you start implementing those tips today and seeing how they work for you, and make sure that you keep us posted in the Wellness for Women group. Want to know how things are going. Likewise, if you've got a question, then obviously the group is the place to be. This is a community for support. So coming up in today's show, I want to talk a little bit about habits. What are they and how do they work? Might sound obvious, but bear with me. We're going to take a little bit of a look at the rule book, how to make lasting changes in your habits, and tips for staying motivated and staying consistent with your efforts. So super quick intro time as usual. For those who are new to my world, I am Faye Caseman. I'm here to help you put together the pieces of life and weight loss. Life is too short to be on a diet, and because they suck. So let me help you find a way to lose weight and sustain that weight loss so that fits your unique life. Because I strongly believe that this is your life. You need to have your weight loss your way. So let's help you to release the diet drama and find more joy in the process. And reach out to me on any of my socials if you want to know more. Okay, so back to habits. You are here listening or watching because you are working on weight loss, your well-being, or forming healthier habits. And I bet you could probably make a list, an absolute bunch of habits right now that you wished you could change or thought perhaps you should change. And according to research, up to 40% of our daily activities are habitual. So 40% of our activities in a day, we just go around on autopilot, not thinking, just doing. And I'd wager that there's a study somewhere out there that probably shows that it's more than 40%. But this just happened to be the first one that I found. And so I was thinking that this could be a blessing and also a curse, really. On the one hand, it means that we can accomplish a lot without putting much effort into it. We just zoom around getting shit done without taxing our brains. But then on the other hand, it can also mean that we are easily stuck in patterns that don't serve us much without even realizing it. And what about those ones that perhaps we don't even know we've got yet? We haven't really realized that we've got these habits or behaviors. So, really, when we're looking at weight loss, though, it is about looking at habits, but we are also talking about behaviors. So Gretchen Rubin's, don't know if you've heard of her, she distinguishes the two as behavior is something that you do and a habit is something that you do without thinking. So I liked that definition. And what I would say is that sometimes the habit or the behavior that we really need to work on is curiosity. So questioning what is going on, challenging yourself to establish if something is working or not working. Is it true or not true? But the good news is that habits and behaviors can be changed if you want them to change. It just takes a little time and patience and a commitment to figuring it out. But something to note, of course, is that they can change back just as easily. And so the key is sustainability. So we could all go on some kind of grueling diet that leaves us miserable and maybe, last a few days, a week, a month, maybe at a push. But what then? We go back to the same old ways and we go back to the same habits and behaviors that we've always known because, ultimately we don't want to be doing those hard, horrible things in the first place. And so I want to help you to form habits that you can keep and a toolbox of behaviors that you can dip in and out of as and when and you need. So What about the rule book though? So I said, be mindful of the habit rule book. So do you ever feel like you're the only one struggling to make changes in your life and to make progress in your weight loss or with your well-being in general? And I bet the answer is yes, because we all get compare-itis sometimes. We've all been there from time to time. But the truth is, to make lasting changes to our habits, it's always it isn't always easy, and it doesn't happen overnight. However, it is possible to make progress if we're patient and work on being consistent with our efforts. And there have definitely been times when I have felt like giving up on my weight loss journey, especially when it felt like I was the only one that was struggling, when I felt like everyone around me was making more progress, having better results than me. But what helped me in that journey was ditching the rule book and the all or nothing thinking that I'd developed after years of dieting, working on being patient and building flexibility into my methods and learning how to be kind to myself at the end of the day. It allowed me to focus on progress rather than perfection, and it helped me to stay motivated and consistent with my efforts, whatever it was that I happened to be working on at the time. Because as humans, we have a tendency at the end of the day to go towards black and white thinking. And so often habits are considered something that are either good or bad. Just like over the years of dieting, we've developed a habit of saying certain foods are good or bad, which isn't true, by the way. And what you've in effect been doing over the years is building your own rule book, and it works for other things, just, not just weight loss. We've been absorbing things. We've been absorbing what people have said to us, programs we've been on, books that we've read, social media that we've seen, TV shows, the news, and we've been deciding which one of these to keep, potentially more subconsciously than consciously, since we were a little one, like the little one on the screen. And a lot of this is subconscious, and unless we really stop and think about what it is that we've got going on, we often don't identify. We could just go around with these habits and behaviors and never identify them. But these rules, though, is where the suffering can come from and where the diet drama can exist. And I say boo, absolute boo-hoo to drama. It's in the judgments that you apply to the habits and to yourself that create that drama and create the suffering. But what if you could turn down the heat on that? What if you could turn down the heat on your judgment, the heat on the heat of the diet drama, so that rather than beating yourself up for what you believe are your bad habits, instead you work on neutralizing the drama? And the same goes for food. What if you could work on believing there was no good or bad food? There was just food. And how much more freeing would that feel? And this is what I encourage all of my clients to do at the end of the day. Work on finding food freedom, and in doing so then find life freedom by reducing drama and finding more joy. And when we start to see things in this way, it becomes easier to form new habits and make lasting change, because you're feeling better about yourself and about your life and about your habits. And you're kind to yourself. You're not mean to yourself anymore. So how do we do it? How do we make lasting habit changes? Well, you'll never guess how you can do it. Yep, unless you're new to my world, then you guessed it. It's my super simple framework, the AAA way. So we're going to identify your habits. We're going to get some awareness. How many times over the years have you heard sayings like "you are what you eat"? And in a number of ways, that's true, of course. The food that we put into our body can have that significant impact on our overall health. But it's really only one part of the story. And I don't know of one diet really that emphasizes the life part the way that I do. Now, what about the other things that you do every day? Your life habits, they also play a role in your health and your well-being, and this knocks into your eating and vice versa. Maybe you have a habit of playing computer games before bed. Maybe you then don't go to bed at a decent time. Maybe you then don't sleep soundly. And then what happens the next day? You're tired and cranky with your loved ones. You've got food urges and sugar cravings, and you've got higher stress levels. And so then you overeat in the evening. And so what you think is perhaps a habit of eating too much sugar, or perhaps you might think the computer games is the habit. Maybe it's actually a bit of both. But you have but we tend to have this narrow focus on diet and food because that's what's been drummed into us all over the years. Whereas actually you need to look at weight loss more holistically. So another example of that could be afternoon eating. So let's say every afternoon about 3 p.m. you're feeling tired, you reach for the sweet stuff, and it will likely be an urge because you probably won't really be hungry. But really your body, mind and soul is trying to actually tell you something in that moment. What happened in the morning? Did you have a high protein breakfast, or did you have a food that blew through you? Did you have a good lunch, or did you eat a salad because your diet told you that you can only eat salad? Leading to you feeling deprived. Maybe work was busy. Maybe the kids were driving you mad. The content that you were trying to write for your business was not flowing the way that you wanted it to. All of these things could be impacting your eating habits. So your brain will tell you that you are broken, that you are not disciplined, that you can't lose weight, that you might as well give up. But this is all absolute BS. You just need to figure out what works for you, and this all starts with awareness. So my aim for the Wellness for Women community is that we keep working on this. We keep figuring it out by using the AAA way method, and we ultimately step into action. And the aim is to make small micro shifts and just make pure common sense decisions and approaches, really. All you have to do is identify what you want to work on and just commit to doing the very basic level of what you think you can do, what you think you can realistically achieve. And then when you're ready, you just level it up, and you'll find more and more that it just gets easier and easier. And I did that this weekend, for example. I said to myself that I was just going to tidy for 5 minutes, just 5 minutes in the sitting room. And that just turned into 1.5 hours of deep cleaning the sitting room, hall and dining room. But if I'd said to myself, right, I'm now going to spend 1.5 hours cleaning the sitting room, hall and dining room, it would have felt like too big a job. I'd have procrastinated and I wouldn't have done any of it. I'd have made a ton of excuses about the time. But it's these little brain hacks that we can do and that help us to make these small incremental changes that we can stick with over time. Smaller the better, ultimately. So you don't even notice that you're doing them, and then it can feel so easy. So how can you make it easy? How can you remind yourself what you're working on? Those are the questions to ask yourself. How can I make it easy? How can I remind myself what I'm working on? So maybe you might want to put your running shoes next to the door. Maybe you want to make all the foods that you want to eat more accessible, like doing food prep, or maybe just buying them. Put your vitamins next to the kettle. Write a note on the fridge about what it is that you're working on. Set alerts on your phone to remind you to drink water or to move, whatever it might be that you want to work on. But it is just these small little shifts that's just enough to remind you and to make it easier for you to follow through on your habits that you want to create daily. So don't forget, take baby steps and be patient with yourself. And I also recommend building in flexibility with your approach and really checking in on whether those expectations that you have are reasonable. Again, a lot of us have had diet drama built into us over the years. We think that we've got to do big, massive acts of change in order to see results. Whereas what I would say is that if you go in too hard too soon, more likely to quit, have regains, etc. So keep it simple. And I can't promise that it's going to be easy. Life is never always easy. It's going to have its ups and downs, but together we can work on them, make them less frequent and reduce the impact. And what else are we going to do? So accountability, find your tribe. I wish I had £1 for every time I heard someone say, I don't have the discipline, I don't have willpower. Discipline and willpower ultimately are short-term fixes. You may need to use these just a little, as a nudge of encouragement to get started, but reliance on discipline and willpower, not a long-term solution. Ultimately, you will burn out. And anybody who tells you differently, I say steer well clear, otherwise you'll just end up feeling restricted and then down on yourself, which means that you won't stick to it. Habits ultimately are built over time. They require that consistency and repetition. So it's got to be something that you can stick to. And so if you're trying to form a new habit, you need to be patient with yourself. and understand that it's going to take some time. You need support and you need encouragement to keep going, especially when inevitably you will feel like there's days when you don't want to do it, and you will have setbacks, and you need your tribe to have your back when that happens. So I have my accountability divas, and I have another group of ladies in my membership that I talk to all the time, and I don't know where that I would be without them. You know, they have my back, and likewise I have theirs, and it makes a huge difference to my life. And that's where accountability comes in community. So when you have someone to help you and to keep you accountable, it's much easier to stick to your goals as well, and to form new habits. And it's about being able to take ownership of yourself, accepting failure, accepting that you can't be perfect 100% of the time. And honestly, you don't need to for weight loss. Not one week in my journey was I 100% in line with what I set out to do that week. But the difference was that I learned to not let it get to me. And that's how it ultimately changed my life, because I learned how to ditch the drama, and I learned to then not go into full-blown effort mode and say that I'll start on Monday just because I perhaps overate on the Friday. I learned to release the judgment and accept that, you know, what's happened was happened, but then commit to working forward. And I know that you can too, ultimately. So some more tips for keeping your new habits. Be unique. Your life, your weight loss, and your way, right? And this to me is, again, absolutely critical and key. Take control your way. Find out your unique habits, your unique triggers. Figure out what works for you, not what someone else tells you to do as part of some diet somewhere. Yes, you can look for tips and tricks and support and ideas and a mentor, and obviously I can provide some of this as a coach, but I encourage you to look within you as well. Honestly, just have a look within, because this is ultimately what coaching is all about, is about encouraging you to look within with honesty. You've ultimately got all the answers already inside you. As a coach, my job is just to help you to draw them out. So, you know, and to help you find what brings you joy, what brings you joy in the process, so that you can keep it going. Look for wins. So one thing to keep in mind when forming new habits is, as I said before, progress over perfection. Absolutely what counts. So you don't want to have a habit of worrying that if you don't get it right the first time, just keep at it. You'll eventually be able to stick to that new habit. It just takes that little time and patience, and really trying to find out again what makes you tick. And then you can piggyback on the back of those things. Being patient. No one is going to judge you but yourself. You don't need to whip yourself into shape either. You have been through a lot of stuff that has got you here. So be kind to yourself. You know, if discipline and beating yourself up for failed programs, failed habits, you know, behaviors that didn't serve you, you wouldn't still have them, right? You know, so let's try something different. Let's try self-love. Let's try patience. And having faith, have faith in yourself, as you can do this. You can absolutely do this, and keep trying. If something doesn't work, just keep trying it, or try something different. It's all an experiment. You just need to tweak as you go, and it's okay to adjust your goals and your plans. Just never give up. Just never give up, and then you will get to where you want to go. And the last one was read all about it. So I love a good self-development book. I love getting all that juicy learning and all those life hacks. My favourites that I go back to when I'm working on habits is Atomic Habits by James Clear, and Everything is Figureoutable by Marie Forleo. So if you have not read either of those, I highly recommend them. And I can share the links for those in the description as well, but definitely worth checking those out. Okay, so right, that's it, folks. Tech glitches aside, it was a bit glitchy today, but forming healthy habits, it can be tough, but it is definitely worth it, and definitely worth the effort. So vow right now, if you do nothing else, vow right now that you are not going to give up. Be patient, have faith, keep trying, keep using the group for support, and let us know how you get on. Thanks for listening, and don't forget, if you want to boost your life and weight loss the AAA way, check out the relevant links for today's show in the description. Speak soon.